It's MPC decision day, and that's what all we're talking about. We're taking a look at investors' reaction and, of course, the impact on the various key sectors of the economy and the economy as a whole. The conversation continues now. I'm being joined by Kunle Salau, who is a partner and advisory leader, Ernst & Young West Africa. Good morning to you. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me, Edith.
So, just give us your thoughts. Do you think the interest rates or the rates in general, whether for the monetary policy or the cash reserve requirement or even forex rates, should be hiked or not?
Well, interestingly, I actually don't envy the members of the MPC in the sense that whichever way they go today, they're actually going to be the loser. So the economy itself is in a very serious problem. And all the outlook into the future looks, a lot more grim. Therefore, the real issue is for the entire government machinery to come together, all the policymakers, and try to determine where do we go, and then make sure that every single policy that is being set henceforth actually follows the way they want to take the economy. That's the most important thing. So once you still continue to have this isolated policy making, CBN making its own policy, the federal government making some policy here and there, doing policy on oil, not probably joint with the policy on agriculture and everything. A lot of this continues to distort the economy. And if you're an investor, you actually probably don't want to invest in an economy that you don't know where the future looks like.
But then in March, the MPC opted to combat inflationary pressures, which we have seen an upward trajectory in the last couple of months. For the last one, for the month of April, we saw it coming in at 13.7%. And so at the last meeting in March, it opted to raise MPR by 100 basis points. And then taking a look at some of the other developments globally, for instance, now Kenya just shaved by 100 basis points from its own interest rates just to stimulate growth. Do you think that in spite of the challenges, both globally and domestically as well, the Central Bank of Nigeria should hold the rates or probably step back by 100 basis points or even two, just to stimulate growth in the economy?
I think we shouldn't pressure the central bank into making a knee-jerk reaction.
Unfortunately for us, sorry to jump in there, unfortunately for us, everything seems to be priced in already because the economy, the macroeconomic variables are already dictating it. So we have GDP figures coming in at a negative growth of 0.38%. We have inflation figures continue to trend upward at 13.7%. Unemployment figures are down 12.8%. So I think it's most likely that the economy is not looking for a knee-jerk reaction from the MPC at this time.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So ideally, what they need to do is to hold fire. When the market is really in a flux like this, the best thing is just to hold fire and try to understand the underlying basis of what is really causing this distortion. So conventional wisdom will say if you're going into a recession, definitely the rates should be coming down because you want people to spend more and all that. Now, when you are doing that, and some of the prices are going up at astronomical rates, so when you take the fuel, for instance, which is probably one of the leading things that we've been seeing. Now, a lot of people were talking about fuel being sold at 86 point something. I actually don't think that is the true picture of what the value of the fuel has been since January. The true picture is actually what people are buying at the filling stations. And we've had so many reports about Nigerians buying fuel at 200, 250, 150, and things like that. So that has already increased the inflation itself. Then you also don't forget that our productivity level gone down drastically because people were spending quite a lot of time at the filling station. And those who are not at the filling station were also held up by the filling station queue. So the productive time that we have as a country significantly reduced. And those are the effects that we're seeing today. Now, fast forward. If you see last week and this week, you will have seen that there are fewer vehicles on the street of Lagos. That's an interesting concept, and I don't think that we've started looking at that. I would think that actually means that production is going up. People are now a bit more productive than they were from January to April.
Sorry, Mr. Salau, I was cutting there. Where did we see fewer cars on the streets? In Lagos or outside of Lagos?
Anywhere you go, there are fewer cars on the streets.
Okay, so that's a survey that we're going to do very soon.
You need to
yeah, but then, taking a look at everything now, what do you think foreign investors or even local investors want right now for the economy before, going ahead to do business? You do a lot of advisory services for, businesses who are trying to come in. What do you think they want?
The most important thing that people want is actually government's direction. They want the government to lay out an economic plan. These are the things we're going to do. These are the sectors we're going to put money in. These are how we're going to do it. Up till now.
But the Minister of Finance has actually gone ahead and done that.
All right. But can you tell me where we're going to spend most of the money? When are we going to spend the money? Who will be spending the money? Apart from what we've seen about putting some money into construction, some money being released, what else have we heard? So even the implementation of the budget, we're still not sure how we're going to and how quickly that will happen. So don't forget that we lost 4 months anyway. So are we going to spend the 6 trillion in 8 months? And if we're going to, how are we going to do it? Who is going to do it? Do we really have the capacity to do it? Who is going to monitor those things?
But most importantly, is the monetary environment conducive enough for investors to come in at this time?
Interestingly, this is the best time if you're an investor to come in. At the time of uncertainties where things are being cleared, that's the best time for you to really come in, because then you have a lot of time to do your planning. So this is the right time to come in. This is the right time to, and a lot of these assets are very cheap now. So this is, so they are not cheap when you're looking at the prices of tomatoes and things like that. But really, definitely, if you are thinking of doing big investments, this is the right time to come into Nigeria.
So what happens next? We now know what it is that the economy wants. We now know what it is that the foreign investors want, and most likely what domestic investors want as well. What happens next?
All right. I believe that at the end of today, most people will sit down and understand what the MPC decisions are, and also the implication of that to the economy itself. That's number one. Number two, people will want to see in clear terms the issue around long-term sustainability of most of these things that we're talking about. If you look at our oil and gas sector, the fact that we still don't have a policy, the PIB is not passed, means that the investment in that area is not going to happen anytime soon. So people will try to take informed decisions. Those who are already in the sector will not run away, but they are not going to be making big bets as to what the future will look like. In other areas, people are going to start thinking around, what am I going to do? Where am I going to put my money? So in health sector, for instance, if it's going to be extremely expensive for people to start doing health voyage that we used to do in the past, is it not the right time to start actually building proper health infrastructure in Nigeria? So we're going to see people who are going to be coming into Nigeria to be taking a huge bet on that. I'll give you an interesting concept. You've seen a big decline in the power situation in Nigeria. But Nigerians are becoming very creative. I mean, I'm representing a group of investors who are looking for funding, and we're assisting them to look for funding, who are actually talking about doing mini LNG plants all across the country. Now, those are the kind of creation that is going to turn this economy around. And what that is saying is, if people are vandalizing your pipelines, it will be easier for you to actually start getting gas as liquid and moving them to the places where they need them. So if you put an LNG plant in Niger Delta and you turn that into liquid, if you put a barge on Calabar to Lagos, that will definitely transform the power situation we're talking about. And those are the kind of creative things that I see going on, that will happen. Another interesting thing that we see that will happen is if government starts this construction of the railway that they're talking about. So moving goods from Kano to Lagos will become easier, and you don't need to have so many trucks on the road, and therefore those goods can arrive safely in better quality, and the prices can also come down.
Mr. Salau, you talked about all the very key sectors, but you didn't mention agriculture, because agriculture is another very key sector that is, I know the major players and also minor players in that particular sector are very anxiously waiting for this particular pronouncement today.
Well, I don't think people are waiting for the pronouncement to invest in agriculture. To be honest, we know that that's a major point. We have 170 million people. You need to feed them. So that you don't need anybody to actually tell you to invest in that. So the investment is going into that, and that will continue. But it's not the investment into production of the agri product that is going to change the economy. It's the investment into actually the next phase. How do you transform those products into goods and services that people really need? So the investments that the likes of Dangote made in doing tomato paste, the investments that people are making in looking for better and easier way of drying agricultural products and preserving them for the future. So those are the kind of things that are going to change the agricultural landscape. Having said that, you also have people who are still going to invest in the cultivation itself. So we need to increase the yield per hectare, for instance. And those are the kind of investment that we're going to be seeing going forward.
Mr. Salau, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.